Morning, Joan Harrison. What a privilege to see you and to speak to you. Let's dive straight in and tell me, where did it start for one of South Africa's golden swimming girls? Where did it start swimming-wise for you?
It was a very ordinary start, Tess. My parents were involved with sport. So my dad was interested in rugby. My mom played hockey for Border and swam for Border. So I decided I must have a course of lessons. So after the course of lessons, they thought I might have a bit of promise and sent me to training. So I had training at the Orient Bath with Mr. Bunny Clark. So it all started from there.
I hope it was in summer, because I believe that pool, and they affectionately call it the Kwanzaa. Apparently that water gets quite cold in winter.
Very freezing cold in winter, and you couldn't see the bottom those days.
You couldn't see the bottom?
Filled with seawater. Filled with seawater.
Okay.
Not filtered.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So a couple of challenges. How did that affect your? Because I believe your first sort of successes were in freestyle, but you won your Olympic gold in backstroke. So
that's right. I sort of alternated.
Okay.
Because yes.
And do you think maybe swimming in the salt water had an sort of effect that you swam on your back every now and again, not to get the eye? You guys didn't wear goggles in those days, or did you?
No, we didn't have goggles. No.
Wow. So the salt water must have taken its toll after an hour in the water, probably.
Yes, it was quite different swimming in fresh water.
Unbelievable. And tell me, Joan, so you started, from what I read, you started swimming at the age of 10. You started getting coaching from a lady, and eventually you were coached by her daughter as well. So that was your first sort of formal coaching.
That's right, yes. And then I was handed over to Mr. Bunny Clark, who did most of the coaching for the Border swimmers.
So, and tell me, do you remember some of the training sessions? Because it sounded like you did quite a lot of distance and alternated between sprinting and long distance right from the start.
Our long distance was 1,000 meters. So we thought we were training hard, but nothing like they do today.
Yeah, I think the big difference, I mean, there are a lot of differences, but the swimming costumes are different. The diets are different. I think the people are eating more fuel than what you did in your days. I mean, you just ate because you were hungry, I guess.
We didn't even think about diets. So we just swam.
Yeah. I also read that in winter times, when you guys swam less because of the cold water, swimmers would actually gain some weight, but the coaches said that it's actually a good thing because you can burn it off slowly during the summer months when you train so hard. So
yes, right.
Maybe some method in the madness.
Yes, that's true. But I don't think we did much training compared to what they did today.
Yeah. No, I think all sports, not just swimming. I think all sports, rugby. I mean, you had a serious interest in rugby as well because your dad played rugby, and I think your brother also played for the junior Springboks, as far as I know.
That's right. Yes.
So
overseas to the Argentine with the junior Springboks.
That's incredible. So sport was in your family. I believe at one stage you and your sister held every single South African ladies record. So she was also an accomplished swimmer.
Yes, my sister did butterfly, so it was a family affair.
Was that your least favorite stroke?
No, I couldn't even do it.
Couldn't even
do it. I never mastered butterfly.
I think your standards are a bit high. You know, if you don't win an Olympic gold in butterfly, it doesn't mean to say you couldn't swim butterfly.
I didn't even try in the end.
Tell me, Joan, where did you first realize that you had good potential? I mean, that at the age of 10, you're very young and you're just swimming because your parents took you to swimming lessons. What stage in your life did you realize maybe I've got something going here? Was it right from the start?
Well, I swam as a junior for the first couple of years, just swimming in little galas, swimming under 12. And then I was sent to Currie Cup in Salisbury as a junior, and did a few events. And then after the next year was Pietermaritzburg. That's when they discovered that I might have a bit of promise. And after that Currie Cup, I was chosen to go to Auckland. to the
Okay.
Commonwealth Games.
To the Commonwealth Games.
So it's when I really started on my career.
Okay, and I think you were 14 years old when you went to the Commonwealth Games to
Yes, I
New
was
Zealand.
14. It was quite a shock. It was quite overwhelming to take off the flying boat, and it took us 7 days to get there.
That is
We
incredible.
took off from Bar Dam, landed on the Zambezi, Victoria Falls, and from there we went to Lake Victoria, Kampala, then to Khartoum, and all along the Nile to Alexandria. So it took quite a long time to get there. After that, we had to go across India, Karachi, Calcutta, Singapore, Darwin, to Sydney. And then we were almost there.
Don't go past Singapore so quickly. I believe there was a Raffles bar involved. Was it on the way there or on the way back, or both times?
On the way back.
So,
nothing happens on the way there.
How did you stay fit? I mean, 7 days is quite a long time not to be in a pool. Did they manage to get yourselves into swimming pools in between?
Yes, at Kampala we found a little pool in the field somewhere. We had a swim, and then in Darwin we had another swim. And in Sydney we trained a little bit before going over to Auckland.
That's incredible. I mean, I know I was like that. If I didn't train, I didn't have much confidence. How did it affect your confidence? As a 14-year-old, I believe you were the only girl in the 20-man team. How did it affect your confidence not to be in a pool? Because I think you got your confidence from swimming.
I suppose we didn't think of things like that. We just swam, you know. Yeah. When the pool was there, we swam. Yeah.
And can you remember being out of the pool for a few days? Did you feel good getting in the pool? Did you guys taper at all before heading to the competition?
Yes. We didn't really know about things like that. I think we just swam. You know?
Okay.
It's very unscientific.
But I guess swimming a lot before traveling and then having a few days rest and then getting into a pool, you can actually feel better then because your strength are coming back. And
that's we needed a rest, you know, and probably did us good.
And was your coach still the same coach on the trip? Did he actually travel?
Alex Bully was the coach for the South African team. And he went every time I went to the games, he was the coach.
Okay, so he was your traveling coach on all your big competitions.
Yeah, the South African coach. We called him the boss. He was the boss.
He's the same guy that fell off the back of the stand when you won?
He didn't fall that far. He tripped over a wire.
So it was quite a big surprise. Tell me about the event itself. 14 years old, never traveled before, flying boat. I mean, there's so many new things that you had to deal with, and then you walk into this, I guess, an arena, and you have to compete against the best in the world. How did that feel? And was there someone else to sort of guide you through it, experienced swimmers that could guide you through it?
Well, there were two boys in the team, or not boys, but Graham Johnson and Jackie Beach were the two swimmers, and they were like big brothers, I suppose. Graham was a long distance swimmer, and Jackie Beach did backstroke.
Okay.
But when the event started, I had the 100 meters first and came third.
The 100 meters backstroke?
100 freestyle.
Oh, freestyle.
And then the backstroke was on the same day as the 400 freestyle. So Mr. Bully decided I must rather do the freestyle and not the backstroke. So I did the 400 freestyle, managed to win. So then they started making a fuss.
And you didn't really like people making a fuss about you from everything that I've heard about you. How did you handle all the attention all of a sudden, being 14 years old and all of a sudden
I don't think I handled it too well. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I believe on the way back, you guys were actually interviewed at the Val Dam by a journalist, and he afterwards said that it was like a monologue, just speaking to himself.
That's right.
You just said yes or no. So
that's right. I can remember saying yes or no, nothing else. As you know, I'm not very good at interviews.
At the age of 15, you passed matric with a distinction in maths. So you've always worked hard. Was it something that came natural? You just did the right thing?
I think I enjoyed maths. I suppose I enjoyed swimming and I enjoyed doing maths.
Some people commented in a book that I read about you that when you hit the water, you looked like someone that was enjoying swimming, and I think it does help if you have to work hard at something that you really enjoy. So that's
yes, I think in those days you did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody I spoke to from East London, guys like Greg Carswell and Jeff Grills and all these guys, they obviously came after you and were inspired by your swimming, but they all mentioned the swimming pool, the Orient Bath, or the Kwanzaa as they effectively call it. If obviously there were no heated pools, so what time of the year was the Commonwealth Games?
The Commonwealth Games was in February, but I had to train a year before.
Okay.
1949, I had to train through winter.
So that's the question I wanted to ask, because Olympics always in August or September, and so straight after our winter, or actually still in the middle of our winter. How did you guys cope with that?
It was really cold, freezing cold. So it turned blue with cold.
Was there any sort of tricks that you had? Get out of the pool, drink something warm, coffee or hot chocolate or anything? Or?
It was a nice hot bath. It was the only thing that warmed you up.
But that only happened once you got back home.
Yes, that's right. It was a rush to get home into the bath.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. I mean, the determination to swim through a winter in a cold seawater bath, that's incredible. But it obviously paid off. So when you came back from the Commonwealth Games, then you went to the Olympic Games in 1952, Helsinki. You mentioned in one of the articles that this time the trip was much easier because it was a lot shorter. You only had to stop off once or twice in Africa and London and then on to Helsinki.
Yes, no, it was direct, so the traveling wasn't so long. And we had a couple of weeks before the Games to train.
Where did you train the weeks before? Did you go to Helsinki a bit earlier?
About 2 weeks earlier, but it was quite hard to get a lane to train in. You had to book a lane. So South Africa actually shared with Ceylon. So we shared a lane that we could go swim up and down in the same lane just to get swimming time.
Okay, and this time there obviously were some girls in the team as well?
No, I was the only girl.
Were you still the only girl?
Yeah, that's right.
And tell me, how do you prepare for an Olympic Games knowing that in 50 years prior to your swim, no South African has ever won a swimming gold medal? And I know you were up against the Dutch girl who broke the Olympic record in the heats. How do you? And I think she beat you convincingly by a lot of seconds in the heat. So you were quite a long distance behind her.
I think everything was quite close. It wasn't too far. But you don't even think about that. You just do your best. Just swim and do your best.
From what I read, you normally swam. This time around it was the backstroke where you won the 440-meter freestyle gold at the Commonwealth Games. Now you were focusing on. Were you swimming any other events, or was it just 100 meters, 110 meters backstroke at the Olympics?
Actually, I had the heats of the 400 meters freestyle in the morning, the backstroke final in the evening.
Wow.
So we had to decide if I was going to swim hard in the morning, and decided yes, I would. So I did manage to get into the semi-final of the 400, and then had to swim the backstroke in the evening.
And
it's quite a heavy day.
How did you prepare? Having swum in the morning, I'm just thinking at Currie Cup at Nationals when we swam, and it was also heats in the morning and finals in the evening. It's quite difficult to switch off in between. Was it something that came easy for you to not think about the race?
No, it was quite nerve-wracking. But I had to go for a rest and have lunch, and then a bus back to the pool. No luxuries.
Oh, wow. And as you said, you were quite nervous. Do you think that was the race where you were the most nervous in your life, or?
I think the 100 freestyle earlier in the week. There were the heats and the semi-finals and then the final. That was the most nerve-wracking.
So
The first time.
okay, so it actually prepared you. Maybe that prepared you for the backstroke. And
yes.
at that stage, how old were you? You were 16 years old.
16.
Yeah, and probably more mature from a 10-year-old. 6 years is quite a big percentage of your life. So with a lot of experience. Did you grasp the magnitude of swimming in an Olympics? I mean, how was the build up before going to the Olympics, being selected, the hype around that? It wasn't big teams selected.
Yes, it was quite a big team. There were 5 boys that went to. But we just swam. It was another competition, and it was an honor to go to the Olympics. But we just did our best.
Fantastic. Tell me about the race. I read up on your history that you enjoyed swimming quite fast in the beginning and sort of getting ahead of your competition so you could assess your competition. But from what I read, the Olympic finals, you were actually slowest out of the blocks or slowest out of the start. So you had to play catch up in that race.
Yes, I think I was about fifth at the 2. And then the last 10 meters I sprinted. And sort of won in the last 10 meters.
And when you touched, did you realize you won?
Well, the South Africans in the stand came rushing down, cheering. So I knew I must have.
You knew it must have been something special.
For the Dutch girl.
Yeah, I read afterwards you felt really sorry for the Dutch girl that she didn't win because all the pressure was on her. She did the Olympic record, and you actually more than once said you really feel sorry for her. Did you actually speak to her at all?
Well, Prince Bernard of the Netherlands was there to watch her, so it's extra disappointing for her. So we did have a little chat.
Did you have a little chat? Well, it says quite a lot about you that, although people from the outside might think that swimming was your life, swimming was a big part of your life, but it wasn't the only thing that mattered to you. I mean, you enjoyed competition, but I think the relationships and the friendships. I read that you learned to play cards on your first trip to the Commonwealth Games, and you've actually got a bridge partner, I think, for 60 odd years. You've been partners from school.
Right. That's right. Now I enjoyed playing cards, and I learned quite a lot from my partner on the trip. Was a heavyweight wrestler who was very good at cards, and he taught me how to play.
Do you still play cards? Do you still belong to a group that plays cards?
I still play bridge, yes, occasionally, not as regularly as I used to.
Okay.
But I do still play.
I'm sure that helped you before a lot of competitions to take the mind slightly off the competitive side of swimming. And I think that's what that's what we take out of swimming is the friends that we make, not just the records.
Yes. Yes, no, the friends are wonderful, that's sort of lifelong friends. Graham Johnson came on each trip with me. He was in each team, and we kept in touch all these years with him and his wife.
That's lovely to know. Tell me, coming back from the Olympics, first ever South African swimmer to win an Olympic gold medal. What was the hype like in South Africa? I've seen photographs of East London absolutely packed. You couldn't see anything but faces of people coming to support a 16-year-old Joan Harrison. I mean, that is incredible.
Well, I didn't enjoy that part of it at all. No, I had to sit on the open car coming down the main street and then go onto the City Hall balcony and sort of talk to the crowd. So it wasn't very enjoyable for me.
I believe you whispered to your mother that I hope they don't ask me to say anything, but I guess they did ask you to say something.
Well, that was very short, I can tell you.
Was hopefully a bit longer than a yes or a no that you in your first interview.
Yes.
That's brilliant memories. I mean, I think after your first Commonwealth Games, you were actually named the top female swimmer, or might even have been the swimmer of the event. So these are massive accolades. I mean, one swimmer gets awarded that award. it didn't change you at all from what I see. I mean, in the end, you just loved swimming, and the victories were special, but it didn't change you as a human being.
Yes. No, I don't think so. I think once you enjoy it, you know, you can keep on going.
So you used it as a motivation to try and achieve more and work harder.
Well, I kept going, you know. Yeah.
So after the 52 Olympics, you went to another Commonwealth Games.
In Vancouver. That was different because there were other girls in the team. So it was quite nice to have company and be able to enjoy company, you know, and team races and.
So that was quite different to have, female company for a change. And
yes, that was very nice.
And it showed in your swimming results because I believe you won 3 gold medals or 2 gold medals plus a bronze.
That's right. Gold for the backstroke and then the relay, freestyle relay, 100 meters bronze.
Oh wow!
Relay.
That's incredible. And tell me, so after that, when you came back, you were selected again for the 1956 Olympic team. But I think the cold water took its toll. But I believe you got married just before the Olympics, and maybe that sort of had an effect as well.
Yes, I think I'd had enough swimming and decided to go on with my life.
Okay,
and they say it's always good to get up at the top. So.
Fantastic. Not everybody managed to get that one right. So your husband Charles was actually your school sweetheart. So he was head boy of his school, and a good rugby player. Did you? So when you guys got married, and I think it was about 4 years later, you had kids, and they all competed in water sports, from what I believe.
Yes, no, they were all kids in water polo and surf life saving. They all took part in.
Yeah, thanks to your sons, I missed out on many wins because I competed against Derek and Brian and John. So I'm very, very well, excellent sportsmen. But what stood out for me was also, I think they got that from mom, as they were humble in victory. And I think one of your grandkids had an oral at school where they spoke about grandmother, their famous grandmother who won Olympic gold. And the one thing that stood out in everything was the humbleness. Is it something that your parents kept your feet on the ground? I mean, it's.
I think it has to be something like that.
Something that you got from your parents. I mean, I think that's a trait that draw people to you, and well done for that. I mean, you've inspired a whole generation of male and female swimmers. Olympic gold is always something that'll inspire. It took 44 years before another lady of South Africa won Olympic gold, Penny Haynes. And
that's right.
To this day, only 3 female swimmers and 1 male swimmer from South Africa had the honor of being inducted into the Swimming Hall of Fame. You were the second after Karen Mia. Tell me about that. I think it was 1982 that you were inducted.
Yes, in Fort Lauderdale.
Were you actually there? Did you go to the?
Yes, we went over there, and actually Graham Johnson came over. He lived in Houston, Texas. He came over to introduce me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It was a South African award.
That is really special. And speaking of Karen Mia, did you ever swim against her or swam with her, or did you know her?
She came after my time.
Oh, was she slightly after?
I had already finished swimming.
Okay. But I also believe, I mean, not too many swimmers have swimming pools named after them. You've got a swimming pool named after you. And from what I read, you lived just across the swimming pool. So you saw all your kids swimming, and till recently you used to go and watch galas and watch kids swim.
That's right. And the grandchildren are all swimming. They all do water polo and surf life saving. And the youngest grandson even is the world biathlon champion under 11.
Oh, wow.
So the grandchildren are also involved in water sports.
Yeah, I think once the bug has bitten you, it's difficult to stay away from it. Tell me, swimming in the Kwanzaa or in the Orient pool with probably a different stroke, if you have to look up to see where you're swimming, was open water swimming something you ever considered doing? Was it big in your years or not?
No, they didn't really have it at the time. It was only the girls, not.
Okay.
Didn't have open, except the Buffalo Mile once a year.
Did you ever do that?
Did it 9 times. Yeah.
Okay, and could anybody beat you in the 9 years?
Not in the, no.
That's excellent, because Jeff Grills was also a very accomplished open water swimmer, and he also trained in a river. Apparently, you had to swim in a river once or twice as well for training.
Yes. When the Kwanzaa was out of order, I had to swim in the Buffalo River. Okay. That's where they did the Buffalo Mile.
Okay, so you had a bit of a home ground advantage. You knew where to swim and how the currents work and the sandbanks. Sure. Yeah, that does help. Tell me, Joan, obviously swimming gave you an incredible life, and I think you've given back to swimming way more than what swimming has given you. And we as South African swimmers, we're very thankful for that. How do you stay in touch with swimming these days? Do you still follow the modern South African swimmers?
Yes, I'm interested in how they do. I'm not really involved. Not actively involved.
I think you've paid your dues. There comes a time in your life where you can just sit back and enjoy and see the hard work that other people put in. If you look at the progress of swimming, I mean, Jeff Grills mentioned in his interview as well that just the type of swimming costumes you guys wore, and I think I spoke to Brian Elliott as well. He mentioned that the costumes that you guys wore were quite thick woolen costumes. I mean, that must have been difficult to swim in.
Well, I'm sure it was more difficult than it is today, but they were definitely thick material, and had to be. There were rules to say you had to have a certain thickness of material and couldn't be see-through.
Okay.
But very different today.
Pretty decent. I like that. Tell me, and now I know all your kids, your grandchildren swim. So you've obviously planted the seed, and you've inspired them. Anything on the bucket list? I mean, Joan, you've reached so many goals, and probably more than when you started swimming. Is there anything that you still like to see, and maybe some aspirations that you have, or are you just enjoying life now?
I'm enjoying being relaxed and watching the grandchildren swim and hearing how they're getting on.
That's wonderful to hear. Well, it's been a real pleasure to speak to you, to see you in person. I really do hope that you manage to enjoy a good, healthy life for many, many years to come, because you've been inspirational. You've given South African swimming lots to be proud of. And I'm very thankful for the time that you've offered me to speak to you, and so we can share this with the rest of the South African swimming community.
Thanks, Tess. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
I did better in Ian Balfour's interview.
Well, I'll just answer yes to that.
Okay.
Thank you. Stay well and be blessed. Thank you very much.